The 9th of January commemorates the return of Mahatma Gandhi from South Africa to India in 1915. And to mark not just the 9th of January, but in fact the entire week, the government celebrates Pravasi Bharatiya Divas, which first began in 2003. We're now in the 17th Pravasi Bharatiya Divas, which looks at diaspora, reliable partners for India's progress in Amrit Kal. This year, there are several international leaders present. Among them, His Excellency Muhammad Irfaan Ali, President of Guyana, extremely privileged to be joined by the President of Guyana. Thank you very much, sir, for sparing some time with us.
Thank you very much, and you're welcome. I'm very pleased to spend this time with you.
Your Excellency, India and Guyana established relations since May 1966. Can you tell us how this relationship has always been characterized by an extremely close and cordial degree of understanding?
Well, before we get to the establishment of formal diplomatic relationship, we must first go to a part of history. And our relationship with India started long before the diplomatic relationship or the establishment of diplomatic relationship. We are binded together by heritage and ancestry. As you know, Guyana has a large Indian population that migrated from India to Guyana. So long before diplomatic relationship was established, there was the people-to-people relationship, the relationship of blood and family, the relationship of heritage and ancestry. After the establishment of diplomatic relationship, there has been tremendous cooperation and collaboration between Guyana and India on many fronts. India has supported Guyana in the transformation of our human resource capacity. India has supported us in our infrastructural development, in healthcare services, education services, in sports. Our first international stadium was built by an Indian company, and that is when Guyana was part of the countries that hosted World Cup 2006. So our relationship spans many different areas: culture, economics, financial services, infrastructural work, investment, trade, sports, and investment in key social services.
President Ali, you've spoken about this very recently, India and the role of vaccines. And also, what is the role that you see India or Prime Minister Modi playing increasingly at the international stage?
Well, it is not the role that Prime Minister Modi is playing, it's the role he's already established himself and established for India. You know, the COVID-19 pandemic showed us the cracks in the world. It showed us the cracks in globalization. Globalization is supposed to create a world in which we have seamless borders, a world in which our borders are open for trade, for people, for economic advancement, and for the general upliftment of the human family. But during the COVID-19 pandemic, what we saw was globalization in the reverse. Countries isolating themselves, countries implementing policies that isolated them from the rest of the world, countries locking in their productive capacity, countries holding on to their vaccines, holding on to imported commodity that created the supply chain crisis. But what did India do? We saw India reaching out to the poorest of the poor. India reaching out to the developing world and offering vaccines, promoting vaccines. In the Caribbean, our first tranche of vaccines came through Prime Minister Modi initiative. So India has shown the world that even in a time of greatest need and crisis, they can be a reliable partner. They can offer solution. They can share their technology. They can share their know-how. They can share their wealth. They can be part of a process through which the human family of humanity can advance. And I think that was a very important lesson.
Sure.
Many developing partners, many countries, I'm sure, were assured at that moment.
And President
that
Ali,
India,
you've established a close personal bond with Prime Minister Modi as well, right?
yes, of course, Prime Minister Modi came to Guyana long before he was even Chief Minister.
Right.
And the bond that is established is also based on our shared vision. In Guyana, we are building a society under the banner of One Guyana. It is a multicultural society, multi-ethnic society, but we want to build a society in a country that brings together the collective aspirations of the people, that treat everyone with respect, that create opportunities for everyone, that bring prosperity to every home. A society in which disparity and inequality is reduced, one in which government practices policies and programs that enhances the welfare of all the people, especially the poor and vulnerable.
And President Ali, India and Guyana are also strategic partners. How does Guyana want to see this relationship evolve? For example, I believe Guyana has spoken, or you have spoken, with Prime Minister Modi on defense requirements.
Yes, so I see the relationship between India and Guyana as one that will expand in a massive way. And why do I say this? Guyana now, as you know, we are being bolstered by revenues from oil and gas. What we want to do with that revenue is build an economy 2030 and beyond that is strong, sustainable and resilient. An economy that can withstand shocks, an economy that stands on many different pillars. In this, we have to use our natural competitive advantages. We are a country with rich natural resource, including fresh water. We have large tracts of arable land. So what we want to do is to position Guyana as a major energy provider, as a major food provider, building a food production system, becoming a strong supplier of food in the region. As a country pursuing a low carbon development strategy in which climate change, climate services, ecological services, biological services, investment in healthcare and education is key and critical in the transformation of our country. Our forest stores 19.5 gigatons of carbon. Now, when you monetize that, there is tremendous wealth that can come our way in climate services. In addition to this, we have to reorganize and modernize our military, and part of the discussions with Prime Minister Modi is how we can build a partnership through which India can support this modernization of our military, the equipment and the needs of
and
our
President
military.
Ali, what did Prime Minister Modi tell you
too.
about this partnership? What did Prime Minister Modi tell you about the partnership that you speak about?
Well, there's tremendous excitement from Prime Minister Modi on expanding this partnership. For a matter of fact, we are moving so quickly. We have agreed to set up a technical working group. From the side of Guyana, we are putting ministers to co-chair those technical groups so that we can remove the bureaucracy and we can advance the work in all the areas I've identified very quickly. And of course, we have expressed a strong desire to have President Modi visit Guyana this year so that we can solidify and concretize many of the initiatives we discussed.
And I presume India has accepted, or Prime Minister Modi has accepted that invitation, is that right?
Oh, definitely. Prime Minister Modi is working on ensuring this happens very quickly.
Sir, India and Guyana share historic bonds, the closest people-to-people relationships and blood bonds. How important has Pravasi Bhartiya Divas been for you personally?
Very important. The Divas is very, very important for many reasons. One is that it allows us to understand the power of the diaspora. It brings the diaspora together to network so we can see the full potential of the diaspora, the level of skill set, the talent that exists within the diaspora, and how we can utilize this diaspora, utilize this talent, utilize this network for the advancement of all of humanity. It brings together the diaspora in the field of technology. It gives us an opportunity to reflect and to understand what each other is doing, and to see how we can share that knowledge, how we can transfer that technology, how we can share investment, how we can create opportunities for investors to participate not only in India, but in countries where the diaspora is.
And President Ali, your own family, how far or how many decades back or how many generations back do you trace it? Do you have a direct link to India that you've been able to establish?
Definitely, I have a direct link to India from my great-great-grandfather. They were the first who came, and then so we have traced that link, and we have from my father's side the full line of relatives who came directly from India, and that family tree has been built out.
And your wife as well, sir, am I correct?
Yes, my wife, and from my mother's side too, we have that heritage.
And sir, I'm told that you are a great fan of cricket. Now, if I was to ask you, Brian Lara or Sachin Tendulkar, would I be putting you in a difficult spot?
They're both great players.
And let's talk a little bit about that cricketing craze or that cricketing bond. How is that an important part of that equation, or the person or the people-to-people association between your country and mine? Cricket.
It is fantastic. So cricket is an important part of creating that bond, of celebrating that bond, and IPL has offered the opportunity of having many Guyanese playing in that tournament. But I think that there is much more that can be done utilizing cricket, the great asset, this great sport, at bringing together the diaspora in an even broader way. And as a great cricket fan and someone who sees the potential of a new league that India must advance outside of IPL. I know we had the IPL and then the Champions League, but we no longer have that Champions League. So I think that the Guyana presents an excellent platform through which we can have a partnership with the Indian Cricket Board in expanding this global product, cricket, utilizing Guyana to get also in the North American market. And I think that this is something that we should pursue, something we should consider, and that would further add a new layer of connection, a new layer of activity that brings together the diaspora with India.
President Ali, how has Guyana gained from, for example, Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation, under which scholarships, I believe about 50, are granted every year in various courses. Other scholarships are available to Guyanese citizens to pursue undergraduate, postgraduate, masters, medical degrees and courses in India. Could you tell us about the impact of that?
Well, I can not only tell you about the impact, I am a product of the impact.
Right.
I was a beneficiary of an iTech scholarship. I studied, I did my master's here, and I have a lot of friends who did their master's, their PhD. Many of them are medical doctors. So the impact has been tremendous for Guyana. It has helped us to develop much skills and competency in healthcare, in education, in culture. We now have a lot of persons from the Guyana Defense Force who are undergoing military training here in India. So it has been a very expansive program that has touched hundreds of persons in Guyana. Hundreds of persons would have benefited from the iTech training, the iTech scholarship, many of whom are leading doctors, leading writers, leading journalists. In every single field, I can point to a professional who would have benefited under the iTech scholarship program.
And President Ali, you just mentioned the training of defense personnel from Guyana, but I just want to probe you a little bit on this defense relationship. how specifically do you see it improve between India and Guyana? For example, is Guyana looking to induct Indian-made weapon systems?
Well, we are looking at many things. One, technology. One, weapons, and we are also looking at the aviation side. India has developed tremendous capacity and capability on military equipment and hardware, on technology, on training, the aviation side. So it is a comprehensive package that we would like to discuss with India. But as I said, this is in the very early stages, and in another few weeks, we will have a broader understanding and agreement as to what this partnership would look like.
President Ali, there's also the strong cultural bond which you've already spoken about. Can you tell us how, because of a strong presence of the Indian diaspora and people of Indian origin among Guyanese, Indian films and songs, especially Bollywood films, are very popular in your country?
Extremely popular. For a matter of fact, we have many Bollywood stars who visited Guyana, and not only in the modern era of Bollywood, but we had Amitabh Bachchan, Mohammed Rafi, Lata. They all visited Guyana, and some of the new singers now are also visiting and having live shows. So there's a strong connection with Bollywood and Guyana. You know, growing up, I recall my grandmother taking me to watch what we will call in local term double or triple. On Sundays it used to be triple.
Wow.
That is sitting in a cinema and looking at 3 Indian movies, one after each other. And in those days, the shortest movie with intermission was 3.5 hours, 4 hours. So you imagine how we spent our Sundays. But it was fascinating. It was part of growing up, part of the culture growing up. Many members of my family, they would race to demonstrate who has a Mohammed Rafi voice or a Mukesh voice, so the music, Indian music has played a key role and continues to play a key role in the cultural makeup of our country. You might be shocked. There are many leaders from India who will come and visit during different festivity. The Indian High Commissioner himself might tell you that they are shocked many times at the level in which we have been able to not only keep the culture, maintain the culture, but the level of celebration, the level of maturity of the culture and integration of the culture in the society. I think you may be shocked. And in some cases, we celebrate much harder than you do right here in India.
Who is your favorite Bollywood star, or more than one? I mean, can you name one or two, perhaps?
A modern one? So, I can tell you that I like Kajal. She was my favorite actress. Ashwarya, of course. They all have varied talent. Depends on what you're looking at. If you're looking for an actor, an actress who have action type of movies or so on, you have different actors that you would look at. But definitely Shah Rukh Khan will be ranked very highly there. Akshay Kumar also will be ranked very highly. But if you speak generally, I think there is a lifelong role for people like Amitabh Bachchan and so on. That those are household names in Guyana. So I would say that if you ask many of the older Guyanese, the younger ones, maybe not all of them, but still many of them.
Sure.
There's one movie from one Indian movie that almost every Guyanese family would have seen, and not only Indo-Guyanese family, but Afro-Guyanese family and Guyanese family on the whole. The film Dosti. So I don't know if you ever saw that. Maybe we should help you and give you a copy of it so you can see it. But Dosti is an exceptional movie that I think has taught many values and has showed many values. And many Guyanese will tell you that they have a direct connection with this movie.
And President Ali, your visit to India, you're traveling to several cities. Could you tell us a little bit about the visit itself?
Well, the visit is very expansive. We are not only looking at government-to-government relationship. We have a very huge private sector delegation, which I have to go to now. So, and this delegation is here to build partnership, to build consortium. So I am very confident that within the next, I would say within the next 3 to 4 months, you will see a massive expansion of the Indian investment footprint in Guyana, and a massive expansion in the collaboration between Indian companies and Guyanese companies, building consortium and building partnership. Agro-processing, the oil and gas sector, manufacturing, large-scale production. These are all the transfer of technology, the building out of capacity, human resource development. So you will see tremendous expansion.
President Ali, just one more question. I know you need to leave. The visit or the forthcoming visit of the Prime Minister to your country, could you spell out what your expectations are based not just on the diplomatic and the commercial relations between the two countries, but your personal association with Prime Minister Modi?
I think it's very important from many perspectives. One is that the presence of Prime Minister Modi in the region itself will send a very strong message. The Caribbean and Latin America view India as an important and strategic partner, as an important and strategic leader in the transformation for the developing world. India chairing the G20 now gives that additional opportunity for India to provide global leadership in which important issues affecting the developing world can be addressed through the G20 mechanism. I think many developing countries are depending on India to be their voice, and for this year of leadership in the G20 that India has to be a year that would move from the script, the talking script, to the action script. And I think Prime Minister Modi is well positioned to lead this process.
All right. President Ali, wonderful to have you in our country and wonderful to speak to you. From cricket to Bollywood to commerce to defense and your personal relationship and equation with Prime Minister Modi. Thank you for sharing all of that, and wonderful to speak to you.
It was my great pleasure and honor, and I want to thank yourself and the people of India, the government and people of India, for their continued support to the world, for their continued belief in peace and harmony, respect for each other, and building out of multicultural society. We have to understand that all of humanity must be able to coexist in love, in unity, through shared values, shared principles, and a shared position of prosperity that must come to every home. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, President Ali. Thank you very much.